Chapter 2. The Early Years of My Life. My earliest memories drift back to the east side of Detroit, Michigan, a world that felt so much bigger back then. I grew up alongside my sister Sally, who was 4 years older than me, and my younger brother, born 7 years later. Dad worked his hands and heart as a wood model maker for Chrysler Corporation. Mom waitressed at the Bayview Yacht Club, her smile serving just as much comfort as the meals she carried. Even as a boy, I understood that life had not been easy for my father. His parents had sailed from Brussels, Belgium, to seek a better life in Detroit, though they spoke little English. Dad lost his father when he was just 10 years old. His mother, then pregnant with their fifth son, took work as a domestic for a wealthy family. It was the height of the Great Depression, and the boys largely had to fend for themselves. Hardship shaped my father. He grew up tough, smart, and unwilling to be beaten down. When I was 7, life took an unexpected turn. Dad was sent to jail for 6 months for selling cars without a dealer's license. Without him, everything in our little house. The strain overwhelmed Mom, and eventually she suffered a nervous breakdown. Family and friends stepped in where they could, but much of the day-to-day care for me fell to Sally. Through those rough years, Sally and I formed a bond that nothing could shake. She became my protector. I remember going to Mom one rainy day and showing her the worn-out soles of my shoes. She lovingly cut pieces of cardboard to slip inside them. Her heart was in it, but it did little to keep the rainwater out. When Dad came home, it was as though he was determined to make things right. He poured himself into our lives with a kind of fierce tenderness. At his encouragement, I joined the Cub Scouts and then the Boy Scouts, where he eventually became Scoutmaster of our Troop 491. Those campouts with him are some of my most treasured memories. What stands out? Dad brought a shotgun and a case of clay pigeons to teach the troop about gun safety. I was eager, so eager I could hardly sit still, but Dad made it clear I would wait my turn like everyone else. By the time it was finally my turn, the clay pigeons were gone. Seeing the disappointment on my face, Dad handed me the gun with a twinkle in his eye. He pulled off his beautiful red leather cap and hurled it into the field. Go ahead, Eddie. Take your shot. I aimed, fired, and blew his favorite hat to pieces. The troop erupted in laughter, and Dad just smiled, that familiar warmth in his eyes, proud of me even though I'd destroyed something he loved. On another campout after the shooting lesson, Dad asked me to put the shotgun and shells back in the car. On the way, I spotted a squirrel high up in a tree. Without thinking, I loaded, took aim, and fired. The squirrel fell with a thud to the ground. Dad heard the shot and came over, surveying the scene. He looked at me and said gently, "Eddie, let's talk a little more about gun safety, okay? We never point a gun at anything unless we intend to kill it. And we don't kill anything unless we intend to eat it." That night, I cooked that squirrel over the campfire and ate it. I never forgot that lesson. And to this day, I've never pointed a gun at anything without being prepared to live with the consequence. On my 14th birthday, we were sitting at the kitchen table when Dad said, "Let's go for a ride, Eddie." I jumped into the car, certain there was a special surprise waiting for me. As we drove down the Ross Road, Dad told me about his first job as a caddy at the Country Club of Detroit. Before I knew it, we were pulling into the club's driveway. "I doubt he's here," Dad said, speaking of his old caddy master, "but let's check." We walked past the basketball court where young caddies played between assignments and into the caddy house. Boys about my age were sitting on benches waiting. Dad called out, "Caesar?" A man answered, "Yes, who's asking?" My name's Leo," Dad said. "I used to caddy here years ago." Recognition lit up Caesar's face. Then he asked, "And who's this?" Dad clapped a hand on my shoulder. "This is Eddie, my son. He wants a job." I stood there, wide-eyed, thinking, "I do?" And I've been working ever since.